With your permission, today's spiritual empowerment session will begin by setting a stage of it was something, I'm not sure if I should do this, why not? I was at a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament last weekend, and first of all, I love it for the fact that martial artists are generally very disciplined, kind, tender people. They're not going to be in a street brawl or fight. So you're around people like that. These are real professionals, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is truly spiritual. There's not the roughness you'll find in certain martial arts arenas. And so you had a lot of babies and even moms with the little carriages, and it was just very mature, very human, and spiritual to be there. Everyone was safe. And then I'm looking around at all the guys, and they all looked similar. They all had the ears like that. And I think, okay, that's what that is. And they were all gentlemen and mature, and the ladies and the moms were there safe. And it's not the thing a normal person would think safe or a enjoyable atmosphere with the fighting, but it was. It was really nice in every way. Especially seeing the kids could run here and there, little children, and they're safe because there's a maturity to that kind of a discipline. And then I was sitting there and seeing there were different people with the guy thing of rivaling and being on top of the other. It's to prove yourself. And I was thinking, I have friends of what they call special operators, or do all that kind of warrior thing with great expertise, and every one of them, without fail, is very calm state of mind. But they're trained for that. They can do 40,000 rounds in a couple of months of firing, of testing, of preparing, and so forth. And so I'm extrapolating this out to say that there are all these disciplines. In the arts, in every discipline, there's a certain place you reach, a high note where you're confident, you're secure, and the point for right now today is that's not necessarily spiritual. In the scripture, when it said that love not the world or the things that are in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. In other words, into this atmosphere there was a certain pride of being secure, fearless, capable. But when you step into this next place of true humility, you don't have to believe in God or anything. It's in every infant's murmur, isn't it? And as profound as this might sound, because it is, it's so much more so in the apprehension of reality of the spiritual heart. This is where you come in. We train our heart to a deeper kind of humility and kindness. There's a safety here, not the safety of being protected from someone, but the safety of transcendence. There is a higher range of experience, of emotion, of love, of kindness, of loving kindness. It's spiritual. And we're going to go into that condition today, very clearly, very steadfastly, and confidently. Because it's really there. It's really wonderful. Remember back in the day, I'm an older person, when a friend was going to go on the different shipping lines or something, he would say, calm seas, prosperous voyage. But you're sending someone off. There's a certain class with that. You understand where we're going with this? So with something spiritual, like I brought my buddy Rob over to see a bunch of my friend Bento Rinpoche. He had about 12 or 13 lamas and monks at his place one day, in the home of the legal counsel for Tibet in exile over here in Palo Alto. And he's a big football player, shot putter, and he walked in here and he couldn't believe how safe he was. He was like a little child with them, and they started running outside in the road, started football with him, and he just disappeared into that twilight of reality because they're so pure, so simple. And he was treated like their best friend. And there are disciplines that take you here, that take you away from the everyday. It's beyond love. No want or need or desire. It's just like when you appreciate someone or something, and it's completely quiet in your heart. That's the beginning. That's the staging ground for the condition we'll discuss today, where there's no lust of the flesh or lust of the eyes or pride of life. In other words, in that place, still people thought they might have been attractive because the guy was strong or the women looked a certain way, but it was very safe. So it was much more wonderful to be there than an ordinary atmosphere or a rock concert or I don't know what, or a shopping center or even in your own home. Because no one was going to act out. It wasn't going to happen. Everyone was professional, everyone was caring, everyone was, when you're practicing the fighting arts, you're not going to move wrong or scare someone or jump back or do something inappropriate. It's not going to happen because you've trained yourself on the mat for many years. Mr. Sculter here, with all his many, many years of teaching, he's the kindest, gentlest man I've ever known. It's borderline boring. It's so wonderful. So humor. And at the same time, he could, do that kind of thing that would embarrass the local sheriff, except for Tim here. Mm-hmm. So let's go into this place where you don't want or need or desire. It's heavenly. It's the real you. Isn't it you? It's all for you. It is yours. And we move together into this place. It starts individually in your heart to know there is such a place, a paradise. In the East, they call it the Pure Land. I know when I was in northern India, Nepal, and I was praying for a lot of friends that were in trouble there, and I lived alone in a little mountain retreat, and I was thinking of the fact that people talk about Shangri-La, and so I'm there in Shangri-La because it's not a physical place. The Tibetan monks were so serious about their confidence in God that they didn't say they had different names for the mountains. Chungalungma would be Everest, which meant the mother goddess of the world. They didn't see the mountains as mountains. They were something inside your own psyche. And when you have this all-eclipsing atmosphere of true humility, you step into a wonderland. So I saw Shangri-La not like from Lost Horizon, the great book. It's the first paperback ever written in 1931. And it's just a wonderful book about the traveling and trying to find the true Shangri-La. And in the book, it was a place. And the monks and lamas lived there, the people, and in complete happiness and spiritual peace for hundreds of years. And it was a wonderful telling, wonderful tale. But as I'm standing there in Dehradun, I guess it was at this point, I'm thinking, I knew that Shangri-La was not a place. I've always known that. But it is a place in the heart. Your heart and my heart. I know this is familiar to all of us, isn't it? Today's session is about arriving at that place with confidence, knowing you don't have to leave it ever. You might spend a few months or a year or two totally encompassing all of your perception into this place. Use all the meditative means available to you. If you just sit, there's so many thousands of self-enhancement, spiritual enhancement techniques. If you just practice for a few days here and there, a couple minutes at a time, breathing through your nose, close your mouth. Just that, you automatically, just all these things, practice a few minutes here, a few minutes there. And after a month or two, well, my point is that I always knew, like when I'd go with Dr. Sho, teaching his students, it was like, I've lived in this place all my life, and all of us who understand what I'm saying live in this place. Doesn't mean that our life is easy, and we avoid people not because we dislike people, but because it's easier without them around. We're not depressed as spiritual people. We're dealing with the reality that we exist in this world where people think they are a separate body. There's no separation in spirituality, in all of your consciousness. This being said means breathing, which is so negligible in this, but whatever all these things, all the techniques are, when you have your divine revelations, and each of us have, write down 10 things you experienced that were deeply spiritual, where you felt larger than your body, or circumstances, or times when I was at with Peter Mink, my jiu-jitsu teacher, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it was like, because he's very happy and spiritual, a true genius, I don't say this lightly, his family, they're all beyond gifted, and he certainly is, and so it's great peace around someone like that, and at a meet like that, but transcendent of that, because I experienced with him, is this other land, this other place. It's a place of the heart. You don't need or want when you're there. You can enjoy everything, but everything is ritual. Like the tea ceremony in Japan. See my friend Nobuhito, the great samurai that I know. He's a chef and a professional fighter as well, and everything you can imagine, all of them. But when you know him, like as I know him, is you would just like look at each other, bow, or I'll just pick him up and fix his body real quick. He's a big, tough professional wrestler. And then he went to a jiu-jitsu meet. I didn't know he was a brown belt and won in Vegas a couple weeks ago. But I'm saying it's great humility. But because he is truly spiritual, then it takes us to this next place in the heart. In your heart. That it'd be wonderful for us to recognize within ourselves this place, this mother goddess of the world. And that's why we love our mom. It's touching that place, like in Buddhism where they have all these dakinis, they call it, which are like fairy princesses and so forth. They're not symbolic, they're real. My teacher Kathleen or my mom, I see my mom, it's just so diffused. I see lights and colors around her, and a glorious vision. And I still relate to her through my heart when she was my mom when I was a little boy. She always did what was right, watched over me, took care of me, and I always loved her in the same ardent sense I have right now. But now I'm in awe of her. I can't even look at her. It's such a slight purplish color that fills this space. So that's why I like it. Peter makes life and family, you find that, and with his dozens and dozens of children and adults, and champions and athletes and wrestlers, and all around, they all love him like the daddy, because he has that absolute safety. You know, you're safe with him, and you want to back him up. If you're with Tim, if you're a deputy sheriff in this county, then you see Tim, he just takes charge instantly, and you know you'll do anything for him in that instant, because you know he loves you and he cares for you more than himself. So you want to back that man as a leader. So while we're softening our hearts, purview of the world, through this deep meditative process, at the same time, we're becoming a better person, more adept at the human community, like Tim or Greg here, Mr. Skolta, teaches children, gets everyone a job, a work. He's a martial arts master teacher. And so where people I'm around him that have known him for 50 years come to him, and gets them into colleges or into the service, or get them a good job, and they always come in, like I would see Rod Martin or Moriana Sensei. My Sergeant Joe Sugg in the Marine Corps was my Kempo teacher. We were always fighting while helicopters were coming in, or planes, in the middle of some stuff we were involved in, because it was just fun. It was happy when you have a real teacher like that that's disciplined. And then when you step into the area of my holy Lama friends, they were like teachers. There was a great Tibetan nun I knew, Frida Beatty, who I know now. I knew then, and she's a different person now. She knows it and I know it, and other people don't know it. It's not necessary. You love people in a different way, and we can't give our total self to them and protect them and care for them while they're in the world. Please listen closely to this, because this is the end result of the meditative process. There won't have to be a world. So the people, my mom while she was here, or my teacher Kathleen, or Susan, or I want to give so much to them, but while people think they're separate from one another, that's the problem. You can't take care of all these people, can you? I can't be here moving my friend the other day and doing this and fixing someone. I can do healing prayers and so forth, or psychotherapy for combat veterans or whatever, but I have to, there's only so much time in the day, and there's so many things, streams that you can be involved in at one time. But when you step across the great divide into true spirituality, and your heart expands to the living ethos, to the pure light, to Graceland, to this quiet. We were so humble. So I'm at the meet on Sunday, and Saturday and Sunday I'm probably looking at and I just let go. It's the children's meet on tournament with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on Sunday. Looking around, what's different from what I'm feeling, and then I went into all these different, so I tried to be part of that, so you communicate with people. It's great being around people who are strong and very humble. And then I dropped into the thing that I was born with, which is the humility that we all have within our heart. That's so wonderful. It is a different kind of ecstasy. I don't have the lust of the flesh, or the lust of the eyes, or the pride of life. I've experienced everything there is in the world, as all of us have, and do from time to time, until you have this awakening. But all that has to be while you're in the world, because the world is a very dark place. It need not be. Can any of us imagine for a moment that a God of the universe could have created murder and mayhem? There was a big shooting with murder outside of my home the other day. It made no sense. At the same time, I was involved in doing something, if I could mention, it was a depossession. I can do that. And what's that take? It's not the church and the cross and the whatever. You have to be so quiet inside and so calm. All of us have sub-personalities within us. And if you can listen to a friend quietly, then what happened? Got it, thank you. Then you can have them look at the sub-personalities within them. It doesn't matter, they can be good, bad, or indifferent. But you can have, we talk about a confront on a circumstance. I had a confront during the tournament. My teacher, he was a shining light there, and yelling at 3 or 4 students fighting at the same time in this huge ring, and giving them instructions to perform what they had to do. And when you're with a person to help relieve them or something, which is the same, it's a little inverse, but it's the same idea that you're communicating with people that absolutely trust you for their life. So when I say psychotherapy for combat veterans, I'm just trying to find a term where you can be with anyone, a child with special needs, whatever, and You can be so quiet and you not react to what's happening. You can do what I've seen Mr. Sculta here over the years. He has the ability to communicate with all the parents that bring kids in that have ADHD, whatever you want to call it, these special abilities. He can communicate with their heart. It's a thrill. They all come in and grab him or take him in the back room and talk to him with their parents. He just has that magic where he connects right with the heart because he's not afraid of anything in the world. And the children feel that and respond to him as a daddy. And it's very healing. And so when you're with someone, you can be very quiet. And then you can have them address their problems within themselves. So you don't need to go to the church and the crosses and all this is wonderful. You have to have the idea of the blood of Jesus or something to dispel evil, but at the point, if you get to this place of quiet, you don't need anything. And see your family members as the transcendent presence that they are, that you desire them to be. I know I'm separate from certain people I would die to be with and spend time with. At the same time, that's not going to help them or me right now. But for me to stay in this transcendent place and quietly urge them to this Shangri-La, to the Mother Goddess of the world, then we'll be home free. And then you'll see the holiness of the universe. It's not the God of religion, it's the actuality. In other words, it's so deep. I'm not negating that in any sense. I'm trying to say we're all different. We have a different sense of this or words for it. So quietly, let's ascend to that together. It's a place in your heart. It's the truth of your heart. There is a God. It's softly lit. It's permanent. It's kind and it's true. Please understand these words, that there's a deeper kind of humility. When you don't lust or want, my buddy he used to come to the gym, he's a great football coach, and he jumped out, look at the girls after walking, even after meditation class, and I just punched him in the chest. He's a 280-pound a real thing, and handsome young man, and I said, stop it, Jake. I said, every time you jump out of your heart, like looking at a girl, like you make yourself accessible to the dark forces, don't you? So if you stay here, you just appreciate, then you'll have the right woman, the right life, everything will work. But as soon as you step out with lust, then you're recreating the world again as separate bodies. It's the whole idea of the Garden of Eden. But if you don't have that and you appreciate it, then the girls will love you if that's what you want. Just quietly appreciate it, because what you appreciate, what you honor, what you care for, you become that. You are that. So let's appreciate our mom, our dad, our brother and our sister. And I'm not saying all mankind are that, because most people are lost and may be lost forever. And there'll come upon a time in your life where you can express certain things with power that can overcome all of that. But let's hold that for the last day, for the last time. But tonight, let's appreciate coming Thanksgiving. And if it's your birthday, then if it's Thanksgiving, if it's God, if it's truth, if it's honor, if it's wonder, if it's decency, if it's courage, you encompass all those things within you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's everything right with you. You're quite intelligent and aware. God knows. I'm saying that because this force of temptation that's on us to make us feel separate from one another is the problem. It's been called the devil. And it is. It's a living nothingness. You are a profound wonder. You're the greatest heroic presence that we could imagine. Because you're understanding this, you're seeing it, and you realize your whole life has led to this understanding, this wisdom, this kindness. You're God's greatest gift. Sit quietly alone from time to time and walk away from the whole mess in consciousness. You're not depressed, you're not unhappy, you're trying to deal with the reality of the world that we seem to live in. And when you step back from it, you'll understand God as God is. God is you. That's so profound and true that it's the end result of the meditative life, of the interior life. You'll be one with God. God bless you, and thank you for listening.